Good morning. Welcome to Thursday. Who was the first African American to win a Nobel Peace Prize? What year would it have been? So it was 1950, and it was Ralph Johnson Bunche. A name that, how many of you have heard of that name? Probably very few. So Ralph was born in 1904, and he was the first African American to receive a Nobel Peace Prize for his work with Arab and Israeli peace. He was born in Detroit, moved to Albuquerque for the sake of his parents' health, but his father died. And then they moved to LA, to Los Angeles, where he graduated as valedictorian of his graduating class, went on to UCLA on an athletic scholarship, and graduated in 1927, summa cum laude, valedictorian of his class. He then went on to Harvard with a scholarship and a fund of $1,000 raised by the black community of Los Angeles. Okay, the black community of Los Angeles in 1927 gave Ralph $1,000 to go to Harvard. $1,000 in 1927 and $17,000 today. This man must have really showed incredible promise. He began teaching at Howard University at age 24. He did that while he was completing his master's degree, and then began teaching at Harvard in 1950. And let's see what else. So I want to get to why it was that he won the Nobel Peace Prize. But first of all, he, in the middle of all this teaching, chairing the departments, he was also a member of Roosevelt's Black Cabinet, but declined the offer by President Truman to be the Assistant Secretary of State because of the segregated housing condition in Washington, D.C. at the time. Ralph was involved in many of the civil rights organizations, but did not aspire to be in a leadership position or create any of them, but he did give his influence, his personal influence in speeches and publications from 1945 to 65. So in 1946, he was placed in charge of the Department of Trusteeship of the United Nations to handle problems of the world's people who had not yet attained self-government. And from 1947 to 1949, Bunche worked on the most difficult and important assignment of his career. It was the confrontation between Arabs and Jews in Palestine. So I just want to read this because I'll lose my place otherwise. He was first appointed as an assistant to the UN Special Committee on Palestine, then as principal secretary of the UN Palestine Commission, which was charged with carrying out the partition approved by the UN General Assembly. In 1948, when the plan was dropped and fighting between Arabs and Israelis became even more severe, the UN appointed Count Folke Bernadotte as mediator and Ralph as his chief aide. But then the Count was assassinated 4 months later, and Bunche became the acting UN mediator on Palestine and spent 11 months of virtually ceaseless negotiating until they obtained signatures on an armistice agreement between Israel and the Arab states. And for that, he was granted the Nobel Peace Prize in 1950. And get this, he returned home to a hero's welcome. New York City gave him a ticker tape parade on Broadway, and Los Angeles declared a Ralph Bunche Day. He was then besieged with requests to lecture and so on and so forth. Wow, this is quite an impressive gentleman that I've never heard of. And now we have, I'd want to share one quote that I thought was inspiring. He said, "There are no warlike people. There are only warlike leaders." That's thought-provoking. There are no warlike people. There are just warlike leaders. And with that, I hope we all have a grateful day. Just imagine the people around us who have accomplished such amazing things. Maybe they include you too. Have a grateful day.